We've been talking about 7 areas of compatibility in your love life. How to know if that person is right for you. We spoke about maturity as the first part of the 7 in terms of compatibility. And today we want to talk about compatibility in the physical appearance and intellectual compatibility as well. We are talking about compatibility as a package because it cannot be seen as an isolated thing. Maybe you think you're compatible with that person because you have one specific characteristic in common with that person, but that's not enough. You need to look at the whole thing to see if you're both compatible in all the areas that are very important. Because that ignoring all the areas would be like going to a clothes store and then choosing a pair of pants or trousers for you to wear, and then the length is great, it's perfect, but then the waist is too tight or too big, so you wouldn't take that home. Now, the first part, the physical appearance, Chris, many people say that love is blind, but we beg to differ because we believe love is not blind, that the physical appearance plays an important part in a relationship, and to say that it doesn't is to be deceiving oneself.
Yeah, because you have to marry someone you're attracted to. If you marry someone you're not attracted to, you just like to be around that person, you like to talk, and he's a good friend, and you know, it would be nice to live together, but you're not attracted to that person, you're never going to be lovers. You're just going to live like brothers and sisters. So the attraction is important, although it looks vain. It looks vain, it looks that it's not the most important thing, but it is there in that package. Mm-hmm. You need to be attracted to the other person.
That's right. We're talking about things, for example, that from the start, one needs to be confident about the appearance of the other, the physical appearance, the physical characteristics of the other. For example, height. We've counseled couples where the husband had a complex of being too short compared to his wife. And that affected confidence, affected the relationship.
And there's nothing that she can do about it.
Yes. The problem is not being too short. And we're not saying that men should marry women who are shorter. We're just saying that they both have to be confident about each other's appearance. The other thing is color, race. Again, there's no problem with interracial or mixed race marriages. Absolutely no problem. But both have to be confident about that. Because again, we've counseled couples where one belongs to a particular race, the other to another. And then when they are around friends or family of the similar race of the partner, then there is insecurity, there is jealousy. Because he thinks, oh, my wife likes someone who looks like her, or my husband would prefer somebody who looks more like him. So these insecurities and jealousies can play a part if both are not very confident about each other physically.
Yeah, these are details that if you just think about it on its own, it's not a problem, but it can be a problem in certain situations. That's why the person needs to be confident, mm-hmm. completely confident. I like my wife. My wife is the most beautiful woman in the world for me. Even though she's not the most beautiful woman to the next person, mm-hmm. but for him or for her, that partner is the most beautiful. That's the important thing. Mm-hmm. You can't marry someone that you think, he's okay.
Because if there isn't that attraction or that absolute confidence, then eventually, later on, somebody else who will look more attractive, physically, could affect the confidence or shake that relationship.
And when the appearance changes, like the age or weight, even if the person gains weight, you still find her attractive.
Right. And that's why the age also, like we spoke in the previous video, is important. It plays an important part, because when the age gap is too big between them, then again the physical appearance begins to play a part, because the older person will of course age more quickly than the younger one, and then will start feeling insecure, potentially feel insecure, where he's going to say, well, my wife is very young, all the young men are looking at her, and I'm old and gray-haired already, or vice versa, the woman is older and the man is younger, so she's going to feel, oh, he's looking at all these young girls and more attractive than me, etc. So that can play also an important part, the age part in the physical appearance. And the other part we want to talk about is the intellectual compatibility. What we mean by that is, for example, you take one of the two and that one is more developed intellectually, meaning maybe he went to college, to university, is a person who likes to read a lot, is a very learned person, is someone who's very experienced in business, very active, has always been independent. So a person who is a city person, very advanced, developed mentally, intellectually. And the other person is the opposite. Very simple-minded, very relaxed in life. Or
there are no ambitions.
No ambitions. Is a person who doesn't like to read or be informed about world affairs, contrary to the other one, to the partner. So this difference in intellectual levels can play a part in this relationship, because the person who finds himself to be high or more developed or even superior may have that feeling that he is superior, and the other person may feel inferior, and then the complex can kick in, insecurity. The person who feels inferior will say, well, I don't want to go out with my husband, with his circle of friends, because I feel ashamed. I can't speak. Or even the husband might feel ashamed of taking the wife out with his friends because he's embarrassed of her, and vice versa.
And there is also, at home, he wants to talk about certain things, but who is he going to talk to? Because the wife doesn't really care about any of the things that he thinks about. So there's no communication, there's nothing in common. So he ends up having conversations with strangers or with people in the office. And then suddenly, he gets attracted to somebody else.
Who's closer in level intellectually to him than the wife or than the husband, right? So it's like they live in two different worlds, which again, in the beginning of the relationship, it may not be very apparent. But as time goes by and the marriage, the years of the marriage take a toll, you begin to see that. And this can really affect the security, the foundation, the strength of that relationship. So these are two things that we wanted to talk about today on the video, and there are 4 more to go. You might think, oh, but I know somebody who has this difference that you're talking about that is not good, and they seem to be pretty happy. Of course, we are talking about things here that are, as we said, part of a whole, and you can always find someone who's an example that disproves what we are saying. But we are saying here that you should consider these points as very important, because in our experience counseling couples, we know they affect relationships, they affect marriages. Marriage today is a very fragile institution. Divorce rates are higher than ever. More than 50% of marriages end up in divorce. So you don't really want to be basing your decision on who you're going to marry on society. You want to use your head. And we are talking about things here that demand from you your intelligence, the use of your faculties, your intelligence for you to decide what is best for you for the long run, and not for a marriage that has already an expiry date on it. All right? So we hope you join us again next week for the next topics on the 7 areas of compatibility in relationships.